Hill bested the legal and physical harassments and won the North Bank fight, and his new line, later named the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle, went into joint operation by the Great Northern and the Northern Pacific. He was not content. He now had a foothold in Oregon, and he wanted to develop the state on a much grander scale. Hill's new campaign was spearheaded in the greatest secrecy. Into the wilds of central Oregon, one day soon, went a genial sportsman who said he was John F. Sampson. Now, Oregon at the time is virtually uninhabited. Very, very, very sparse in habitation. Why would you build a rail line through there? He carried more poles and reels and trout flies than was common along the Deschutes. Deschutes, D-E-S-C-H-U-T-E-S, one of the state's most famous fishing streams. Sampson also appeared to be carrying more cash than was usual with sportsmen on vacation. He liked the country so well that he bought options on ranches and unfenced wild lands all over the region. Said it was sportsman's paradise. Everybody liked him fine. One day he disappeared, leaving no trace. So he just goes into the area and says, I love fishing and hunting. I want to buy half of this ranch. I want to buy options on that ranch. I want to buy this, that, the other. I love this place. Hunting, fishing, love it. Then he disappears. Quite soon the ubiquitous Sampson turned up in Portland, Oregon, where lived one William Nelson, among whose souvenirs was a handsome charter for a non-existent railroad, the Oregon Trunk. A little surveying work had been done for this road long before up the east bank of the Deschutes River. Otherwise it existed wholly on paper. Now this John Sampson gets William Nelson to meet him in a secluded place in a park in Portland, and gives him $150,000 in, quote, good legal tender in exchange for his stock and charter described as the Oregon Trunk Railroad. On the heels of this astounding transaction, Mr. Sampson disappeared, this time for good. Never came back. And John F. Stevens came onto the scene. They were one and the same. So who's this John F. Stevens guy? Stevens was one of the best-known engineers in America. So he was the one traipsing around Oregon Territory buying up ranches and stuff. He had served as one of the top men in the Panama Canal Project, and for Jim Hill, his present employer, he had discovered a fine lost pass through the Rockies, the Marias Pass, and through this pass had gone the Great Northern Rails. Now supposedly that pass had been lost until, ever since Lewis and Clark went through there. Engineer Stevens now announced that Mr. Hill was about to start construction of a railroad from the Columbia River up the Deschutes to a place virtually unknown, even to Oregonians, called Bend. Bend was 165 miles from the Columbia, set in a region given over to sagebrush, extinct volcanoes, and lava beds. Yet, hedged with a vast stand of virgin ponderosa pine. The news of Hill's plan for developing Central Oregon, where almost nobody lived, gave Harriman a start. So Harriman's like, what the hell is Hill doing in Central Oregon? Nobody lives there. He knew well enough that the hamlet of Bend was not the terminus Hill had in mind.